As we told you when we visited South America last year, Argentina's agricultural production is dramatically impacted by governmental policies that influence what Argentine producers choose to grow. That country is now in the midst of a presidential election, one that could change the current tariff situation in Argentina. Alastair Stewart covers South American agriculture for DTN, is based in Sao Paulo. He joined us Thursday to explain how the two candidates running for president might change ag policy. We also talked with Alastair about planting progress and the size of Brazil's corn and soybean crops, but we started by asking for a recap of the election in Argentina.
Yes, we had the first round of the presidential election on Sunday, and we got a surprise result. It was universally anticipated that Daniel Scioli, the government candidate, would, if not win in the first round, at least show a substantial margin against the second place candidate, Mauricio Macri. In fact, what happened is it was much closer than most people anticipated, the difference being just 3% between the two, leading many people to think that Macri, who is a kind of pro-market, pro-agriculture candidate, has momentum and could well win in the second round vote, which is on November 2022.
Now the question that's obvious to viewers, what's the difference here to agriculture and how does it impact the U.S.?
The difference is not completely clear. Both candidates, Scioli and Macri, have committed to first devalue the peso. That's important because Argentina runs a kind of a two exchange rate system whereby you have the official exchange rate and the black market exchange rate. The Argentina's soybeans are exported on the official exchange rate, which has led to great frustration amongst producers, and also led them to stock large amounts of soybeans in anticipation that eventually the official rate will be devalued. As I said, both candidates had committed to devalue. The question is kind of how aggressively. The consensus is that Macri would be more aggressive and do that quicker. The other aspect is the export taxes and the export controls on grains that Argentina currently imposes. They have a 35% export tariff on soybeans and also a 20% tariff on corn and around that on wheat as well. Macri has committed to clear those as quickly as possible. He's gone on the record. Whereas Scioli has also said that he would look at reducing those, although he would be a lot less radical about doing that. So generally speaking, Argentine farmers will be pro-Macri for obvious reasons because they're cutting away the taxes. How would this affect American farmers? Well, obviously, if you cut away the taxes, then you're making Argentine farmers more competitive. What, in fact, would probably happen if you reform this system is that Argentina would produce more corn and wheat, simply because they produce soybeans at the moment because soybeans are much more liquid. Then comes so that, generally speaking, is what happened. And also, as I mentioned before, if you get rid of these the devaluation, get rid of tariffs, then obviously the Argentines would tend to sell off their stocks of soybeans.
Meanwhile, in Brazil, how much concern is there on the overall economy and how is that impacting Brazil's president?
Yeah, well, the Brazilian economy is in a parlous state at the moment. Market projections estimate that the economy will contract by 3% this year. And they're also forecasting contraction of between 1.2 to 2% next year. Meanwhile, we've got inflation running at around 10%. That's a very difficult situation, and that is obviously not helping President Dilma Rousseff and her efforts to run the country. She's already embattled because of a corruption scandal that has enveloped her government around basically siphoning funds off from the state-owned oil company Petrobras. So, yeah, it's politically and economically, Brazil's in a very kind of delicate state at the moment.
Let's move into planting progress in Brazil. How are farmers doing down there?
Well, soybean planting has started slowly. That's the headline here. In Paraná in the south, they've received abundant rains, and so the farmers there have actually planted quite quickly. But in the main soybean state of Mato Grosso, the spring rains haven't returned yet. And that has led to frustration amongst farmers, and they're substantially behind schedule. The good news for them is that I've been hearing that it's been raining this week in the state, and the longer term forecasts are for rains to stabilize over the next couple of weeks.
What do you expect for the overall size of both soybeans and then the second crop, which is likely going to be corn in a lot of cases?
Soybeans, the consensus on crop estimates for the 2015-16 year is somewhere between 102 million metric tons. Then afterwards, many producers actually put in a second crop of corn. That is going to probably come in somewhere in the region of 55, 56, although it's very early to predict that crop. We're hearing numbers from consultants talking about a 10 to 15% increase in second crop corn planted area, on top of surprisingly positive margins this year for both soybeans and corn.
Alastair says those positive margins in Brazil, a big exporter, are aided in part by a 33% decline this year in Brazil's currency against the U.S. dollar. As far as Argentina's presidential election, Alastair says the runoff vote will take place November 22nd, and the next president will take over December 10th.